listening to Xposed Living, Be Ageless, the podcast where we drop the masks, flip the script, and talk real life, real love, and real leadership unfiltered. I'm Stacey Vanthuyne, coach, speaker, entrepreneur, and founder of the Xposed Living movement that's redefining what it means to live, lead, and grow at any age. We talk identity, reinvention, belief, and freedom from the bedroom to the boardroom. Yes, we go there. This is not about staying young. This is about waking up. So if you're done with the shoulds and craving more fun, more freedom, more truth, more you, then grab your favorite drink, your bestie, maybe your journal. It's time. Let's get exposed. All right, friends, welcome back to another episode of Xposed Living. And today I get to sit down with someone who doesn't just teach leadership, he embodies it. Michael Doyle is one of those rare humans who walks into a room and shifts the frequency without saying a word. A transformational leader, a peak performance strategist, a musician, a deep thinker, and a man who has spent over 25 years helping executives and organizations lead with clarity, identity, and flow. But here's the thing. That's the resume's version. Today, we're exposing the man behind it. I'm always so excited, Michael, when you say, bah! The identity, though, the upbringing, the challenges, the evolution, the creative mind behind the calm presence, and the inner work required to become the leader he is today. Michael and I met a few weeks ago, and our conversation was instantly electric. He brings, I am not kidding, this strong, peaceful calmness to it, which I admire so very much. So that with that calm, peacefulness, also comes strong power and presence. So buckle up, because this is Michael, unfiltered and exposed. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you. I want to start with gratitude for you, and I'm grateful we connected. And anytime I get to have an opportunity to share a bit about who I am, what I do, why I do it, and just, a raw, unfiltered, the passion that flows through me and the journey, I get excited. Look forward to see where the conversation takes us. Thank you.
Oh my goodness, my pleasure. Thank you. And so already this is how we start. It's just this calm energy you carry today. Michael, was it learned or earned?
Combination of both, I believe. So I think true power is peaceful, and there's nothing more really divine or valuable than calm and peace. Right, because uncertainty, change is inevitable. I think John C. Maxwell said that change is inevitable, growth is optional.
Yeah.
When we change the way we look at things to things we look at change, and calm seas don't make great sailors. So I love to see every adversity yields an equal or greater opportunity for growth, for expansion, for fulfillment.
Share with me, what was one of those key times that you found really, was one of those emotional impacts, or those times that you recognize, wow, I'm uncertain and the way I'm operating isn't going to get me where I want to go. Like, how do I get off this hamster wheel, so to speak?
Let me think. I think anytime we make a big shift in life, and I think we briefly discussed this on our last call, but it's sparked by a moment of clarity. And in that aha, there is a shift in belief, there's a shift in perception, there's a shift in consciousness, right? So once we see something, we can't unsee it. So one of my big moments was April 24th, 2010. I had struggled with alcohol for well over a decade, and my son was 14 months old. And I remember sitting on the floor that morning, hanging out, playing with him, and just pondering what kind of a role model am I going to be once she can actually see how I'm living my life. I was showing up at work and I was doing some pretty cool projects, but the lifestyle with the music and the drinking just didn't make sense anymore. And it was in that moment, looking back, we always connect the dots looking back. I surrendered to struggle on a deeper level. I asked for help from a higher power, however you want to term that. People say God, universe, source, right? The quantum field. So I think we can all agree that the life flows through you, flows through me. So I'm a believer in getting deep connection to your knowing, but you don't need to be connected to your beliefs, nor do you need to be connected to other people's beliefs. Like, what works for me keeps me in alignment. I'm not attached to controlling anything outside of my own vessel, my own mind, my own spirit, right?
Right. So there's lots there we're going to unpack. So it's, I find it's easier for many people, including myself, than done, right? Like this sense of surrender, sense of like, wow, I know this lifestyle that I'm choosing isn't moving me towards what it is that I want. But how did you make that decision? Like, was your why your son? Because often we say we need to have a bigger why than the why not.
So I feel my son was definitely the main motivator. That's why he and I was on the cover of the first book I launched, At the Helm, the first version of that launch, because he was definitely the motivator. But the reason why it stuck, if I'm being 100% transparent and honest, which I tend to do all the time, it's the only way I
Perfect.
know how to speak now. It had to be for me. Because if you do it for someone else or for something else or anything outside of you, you'll white knuckle it for a bit or you'll do it for a year or two, but you will go back to your old pattern. The shift has to be internal and for you. And then, yes, external, extrinsic motivators, for sure. My son was a huge motivator. He was my earth angel in that moment, 100%.
You know, we talk a lot here on the show around identity, and I think you're kind of touching at that internal shift, that belief about you. So, you know, to break an addiction of, you know, whether it's alcohol, food, whatever it may be, requires a decision and this shift. So I'm curious to know for you, what was the biggest belief or the shift that happened to kind of start to catapult your journey? Because it didn't happen overnight.
No, no, and I had tried many times before, and I quit for a year, but it wasn't for me. It was for a girl I was dating, right? And the relationship didn't get better; it actually got worse. And that, it's just that's what it is. We grow. Some of our greatest teachers are relationships, right? And not to segue too much, but people get really clear on who they want, what that person has to be, who they blah blah blah, blah, but they don't spend a lot of time often on who do you want to be? Like, I think more about who do I want to be? How do I want to show up? What do I want to bring to my next relationship that I didn't bring to my last one, right? Because no matter where we go, we take ourselves with us and we have to show up for ourselves and others, right? In order for things to be aligned. So um, I think making that shift for me, why it stuck that time, I was ready until the pain of staying where you were, right, is greater than the pain of making that change, you're going to stay where you are because it's still familiar. It's still comfortable. It's consistent. Basically, any habit, whether it's a constructive or deconstructive, if you have 2 to 3 habits that meet your basic needs, whether it's constructive, it can become addictive. I learned this through a Tony Robbins course years ago, which I found fascinating, right?
Mhm.
I think it's important to get clear on that we can make that shift. When I asked for help, I was ready. I was like, no more. When I decided I'm done with this struggle, we become unstoppable. And I mean unstoppable in a peaceful way. The moment we realize we are unstoppable.
Good. You know, I just want to like put on my swimsuit and dive into this because I was we were speaking a little bit before the show started, and I was sharing with you how I was doing a conversation earlier today to a group of people around identity and the power of identity, and I love this philosophy of thought that says, you know, the only limits are the ones that we choose to accept, right? Or that there's no difference in the potential that you have versus another person. The only thing that differs is their belief in themselves, the standards that they hold, the disciplines that you have. And a lot of times we don't make that change until we're sick and tired of being sick and tired. You said it's slightly different,
Yep.
but I'm curious to know from you, like, what keeps it going for you, you know? Because I also believe that we don't have to have those breakdowns to have a breakthrough.
Sure.
So, what is it for you that keeps you wanting more or to keep being unstoppable?
I think a lot of people will agree who's into, self-investment, personal development, leadership mindset. I mean, I realize I'm a human, having a human condition, but I'm fascinated with the human condition. I study it at a very deep level. I work in the physical realm, I work in the ether, I work in all energies, the physical, non-physical, metaphysical. And knowing that we're here to make an impact. I always say, I will not leave this earth without my soul singing every note it came here to sing. And so my why, it's not about me. It's never about me, really. It's okay to have the self-worth. It's important and to have the boundaries, but remember why we're here. It takes a village. We're all just walking each other home, right? And I think that's what keeps me moving. I love getting that random email on the day I need it, or that I got a text just last week. Last week was a bit of a tumultuous week. I told you a little bit briefly on the call. And I said I was thankful for it because it's how we grow. Um, some of my favorite expressions, this too shall pass, no storm lasts forever. Or what lies behind us, what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us. So they're not just plays on words, it's really more than a philosophy. There's universal truth in these words. And words are spelling for a reason. We're the co-creator. We are more powerful than we're led to believe, and again, power is peaceful. So how do we want to see ourselves? And a key piece, are we making decisions based on who we were or who we becoming and who we're stepping into?
So good. So you have a grand vision for yourself, a grand purpose. I think a lot of people are waiting to be like, I'm going to start acting once I find my purpose. How do you feel about that comment?
You know, it's zero judgment on where people are in the journey. So one thing I know for sure is that not only are we equal, we're not separate. You know, we're all having our individual consciousness experience, but I don't feel separate from anyone. I don't feel separate from nature, from animals, from the cosmos. And it humbles you to know that you're no more important than anyone else, but you're also not less important than anyone else. We're equal. And people's journey are equally important, and people will do the best they can with the knowledge, experience, and where they are in life. But at the same time, there's always this moment we have where the same thing could happen to two people, and one will thrive and one will stay there 30 years later, still living that victim mindset. That's an external locus of control. It's the world, it's the government, it's the roads, it's all these things. So unfortunately, unconsciously, they're giving up their power. And a lot of that's programmed in their environment. It was programmed from past lives, a program from, like, it's not always something that they're consciously choosing, but choosing to do nothing is still an action.
Still a
Right?
choice.
It's still a choice.
Yeah, I agree with you. You know, it's been interesting because I've seen it in my own journey. And I find I love the quotes that you're using because I think a lot of people have heard them before and they think that they're cute. They sound
Right.
nice. But to really study the way you have and to go deep understanding to get to that understanding of like when you are so at one with who you are, that is that peacefulness because it doesn't matter what's going around you. You'll realize that like we're kind of like, again, there's a cliche quote, but one so important. You're the only solution that you'll have and the only problem that we'll have.
100%. Greatest asset and biggest obstacle, what one you feed will thrive, for sure. Yeah.
And I think that we start to like want to understand, like this is where I feel there's this gap in personal development is that personal development makes first feel good. You read this, you're like, oh, that sounds great, right? But where there's few people that actually follow it through to get the true transformation that you've seen and that you've helped people to do that. And so I'm curious, what has been some of those things that you did or within your experience has allowed you to make sure that it wasn't just kind of the flavor of learning and acquiring more information, but actually moving that information to a place of transformation?
I think a yearning for learning, which might sound funny with my Newfoundland accent, yearning for learning, but basically wanting to always grow and expand. Our soul will always seek fuller expression,
Yeah.
and knowing that we have control over how we show up, how we respond, and what we choose to do moving forward. Like the whole adage that your attitude, not your aptitude, determines your altitude. And it's really true. You know, Bob Proctor said, you will never exceed your self-image. And it's such a brief line, but it's so powerful. You have to see yourself doing it. You talk to an elite athlete, how many times they visualize what they're about to do. And sometimes it's years before they hit the target.
Right.
And it's not always about hitting the target. It's who we become in seeking and creating the things we're looking to create, right? Sometimes we'll fall short, sometimes we'll exceed the target. But without a target, you miss every time. And I always say, if you don't know where you're going, any path will take you there, right? So
Yeah. You get out your door, go right. You just keep going right, right, where you're going, right? And and to your point, like we're not taught this growing up. And as soon as I mean, it's like fellow Gen Xer, let's dive into this because you've had to override some beliefs that were deeply programmed in us that we weren't even aware of because most of the beliefs that we're still operating from, like we didn't even have a choice if we wanted to believe them.
right.
We just believed them because they were all around us. And no one taught us about the subconscious mind. So my question is like, what has been one of those beliefs that you find yourself at times challenged or that comes up? I used to always think like, if I'm going through this challenging part, that all of a sudden the paradigm, again, is habitual way of thinking, would just show up and be like, I'm the paradigm, so I'm going to let you know why I'm saying this. But it's so sneaky. It comes in as like logic or
Yes.
different ways that like, so what is one of those beliefs that you've found yourself being just increased awareness in overcoming to become that unstoppable self?
I think it's just consistently choosing to move beyond what is shaking my foundation in the moment. To know that those beliefs are beliefs. So a belief is something we've taken on to be true. It's something that we've programmed. It's something that's from our environment. They call it the domesticated mind, right? And you think about from day one to age 7, you're in theta. You bring in a lot. Our environment will highly affect our outcome, but at the same time, it's not the only thing. But some beliefs serve us, some beliefs don't. Some beliefs did serve us and don't serve us anymore. Some beliefs never did. But a knowing is separate from a belief. And so I always say, don't confuse education with intelligence and don't confuse knowledge with wisdom. All 4 components are needed. I'm not minimizing the importance of education or knowledge, but intelligence and wisdom will harness education and knowledge in a way that serves the collective.
Keep going on that for a little bit for people. So like bring that to like a tangible experience or example for us.
Okay. When I was writing my book, my first book, there was a lot of negative thoughts, a lot of old beliefs. I wasn't comfortable in my own skin yet. People say be yourself, everyone else is taken, and it's a great expression. But the truth was, some people learn to be themselves by the time they're 20, which is beautiful, and more times in their 50s. Whenever that is, it doesn't matter. The afternoon of our life, Wayne Dyer used to call it. But until you know who you are, it's not natural to be who you are. You're your authentic self. So I think, and so we're always the main question again, how I moved.
Like from those 4 components, like give me a tangible example, like what's the differentiator? Because for some people it might be like, what do you mean? A difference between intelligent,
Right.
wisdom, what?
So education in and of itself is information. Knowledge is the information you've now saved into your mind, basically, right? But then when you take actions with that education and knowledge you've created, are you creating from fear or love? Are you creating from possibility, right? So what level of intelligence is being activated and what level of wisdom is being used to see the bigger picture? So the power of intention behind the things we do. I don't always get the why right. I don't need to know, or sorry, I don't always get the how, but I know the why and I know the intention, right? So with the book, I was in my head, who am I to be a writer? No one needs to know my message, my struggle with alcohol, facing my fear of deep water, doing triathlons, all the things that I wrote about in that book. But those 5 pillars to sustainable change, they flowed through me. I don't take credit for the pillars. I don't say these are Michael Doyle's pillars because I know they're not, right? They came from Creator. They flowed through me and I wrote them. But I've been utilizing these pillars since 2016. And this program is just really getting ready to take off, and I'm excited to scale it more and more throughout the world, right? But I couldn't have written that book if I didn't move beyond the belief systems that I was being told.
Yeah.
The negative self-talk. Don't get me wrong. I'm a master of what I do. I'm a master of flow. I'm really great at what I do. I'm also humble enough and smart enough to know that we're all students, we're all teachers. I have so much to learn yet. I love knowing that I will never know it all because there's so much more room to learn and grow and collaborate. The whole adage that if you want to go fast, go by yourself. You want to go far, go together. We're wired for connection. We're meant to collaborate. We're stronger together. I don't always know all the answers, but as a leader, I know who to get in the room and what skills to bring into the room to make the solutions actionable and tangible, right? And so it's been humble enough to realize that you have blind spots too. I still have negative self-talk. Of course I do. Last week was a tumultuous week for me, and I'm super grateful for it, right? Because it's what I'm stepping into for 2026. You got to shed the old to step into the new, right? And I'll end that little thought with Einstein basically said that you cannot solve a problem with the same level of consciousness, basically thinking behavior that was used to create it, right? So you need to shift something to change it.
So
Which
good.
speaks to the work you do, the identity, which I love because you're the only really leader that I've seen really hit the nail on the head 100% when it comes to human potential to say, look, it's not just your strategy, it's not just your team, it's what's the identity everyone's holding, what's the identity body, what's your identity mindset behind what you do. Because that's the paradigm, that's the bottom of the iceberg, the subconscious.
This is
What's
it.
below the surface that needs to be shifted.
I thank you. And I love your work. And I want to ask about your 5 pillars, but you touched on you help leaders. So we're going to come back to the pillars, I promise you.
Okay.
You help leaders work in collective flow. And I'm just curious, in your experience, what's the biggest myth leaders still believe about building high-performing teams?
I think they look too much at the linear side. More and more leaders are getting more tapped into the office culture, to the strengths-based. If you look at a model such as like EOS and other ones that are out there, it really has to do with what's the core ethics and beliefs of the team. Are the GWC, do you get it? Do you want that capacity? All those things are different, right? But I think a lot of leaders think they just need to work harder. I think a lot of leaders think they just need to do more, or you need to, like, they're harder on themselves too. Oh, I just need to get better. I need to do more. But they're putting out fires, And so learning to delegate with clarity, learning to understand your team, the strengths you have in your team. I picture the more moving pieces, I get super excited because instead of going, oh my God, there's so many moving pieces, I'm like, woohoo, there's so many moving pieces, I'm able to boil it down and simplify it in a way that makes sense. So as a leader, I try to get them to look at their vision, their divisions in their company, the focus, what they're doing, their teams and strengths. If you look at the team, it's just picture energy going everywhere, and some of it's hitting boxes. Sometimes there's 3 putting it in the same box, and one thinks he's putting it in that one. How do you navigate the strengths and harness the energy, the innate potential in your team to fuel all the divisions and things that you're doing? If that makes sense.
Do some leaders go, pardon?
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. And I say, well, I'm not here to tell you what you want to hear. If you want to work with me, I'm here to tell you what you need to hear. And I want to also say, trust me, I learn lots from these leaders. I'm not coming in to know it all at all. I'm coming in with a pure intent to harness potential. That's my jam. If I know I'm great at doing that, but it's because I'm a good listener. I'm open to learn from others. I'm very coachable. I know I'm a mentor and a coach, but I'm very coachable. And it's how some of the times the ahas in these sessions when I host retreats, it's not what I say, it's what someone else says. Or sometimes a sentence I will say will spark a thought in one of the people in the room, and then they say something. And I see this magical thing that's happening. It's not about me wanting to get the credit and I'm going to follow me. It's not that at all. It's like, let's go together, let's have fun.
It's so good. It's funny because I was saying, I think a truth that lots of leaders and people don't want to say, though, is that they want to see the evidence before they have the belief.
Yes.
And we've been trained that if you don't see it, then you don't know if you can believe it. But it's not believing or faith at all if you have to see it to prove it. It's like you said, it's already then in the physical plane. And so it's been interesting when I reflect in my own life or when I talk to people, is that it's like, yeah, Stacey, but show me and then I'll believe it. And so I kind of want you to talk into that, of how that type of thought as a leader of, well, we'll do this once I get here, or this sense of delay to needing it is actually the delay and the challenge itself.
Yeah, and unconsciously, it's the fear of moving outside their comfort zone, is moving outside their modus operandi, like how they operate. And they just think they need to do it again, and maybe it'll work this time. Do it again, the definition of insanity, do the same thing, right? So
Right.
I love what you say, because believing is seeing eventually, right? So you don't exceed your self-image, like I said, Bob Proctor said. So we need to believe it first. We create everything in the mindscape. Everything we can look at, I can look at this desk, this computer, right? Everything around us. At some point, it was a thought, and it was enough emotions around the thought. They kept hearing the thought, they took action on it, and they invented something. But everything starts with a thought. And we are all powerful creators. We don't realize it, right? Energy is always moving, but it's either expanding or contracting. So if we're not motivated, it's because we're not learning, we're not expanding. And so motivation is great and will get us started, but it's habits that sustain momentum. So knowing your why over time, getting connected to your intention of what you do, having that thirst for knowledge, growth mindset versus fixed. I spent years of my life fixed mindset, Well, it was me. I told my story to anyone that would listen. Oh, poor me, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And it was never taking accountability. But when I always say it's a tough pill to swallow, but whether you like it or not, where you are in this moment is a direct byproduct of the thoughts you've had, the beliefs you program, the actions you've taken, the choices you've made. So, and when you realize that, you can actually go, oh, boy, that feels good. Like, that means who's in control of how I move forward? Oh, that's me. I can decide what I choose to read, think. I always say you can't change the people around you, but you can change the people around you.
So true. So
Right?
true.
Look at our environment. And when I talk about
Proximity is power.
proximity is power. Jim Rohn, you're the average of the top 5 people you spend the most time with. So are they fanning your flame, or are they trying to doubt the fire? And like, support, motivate, elevate, right? We need people who are supportive, and the choices we're making is going to serve what we're feeling called to do. Our soul will always seek full expression, as I mentioned earlier, but I fully believe that what we seek is seeking us too. We just need to match the vibration of it.
This is it. Live from the end.
Yeah.
But to do these things, to act without evidence, to give up what you know, to follow your intuition, takes a grand level of courage. And I'm curious to know, what chapter of your life required the most courage for you?
It's hard to, I've had many dark nights of the soul. I think leaving my marriage 8 years ago was a big one because of my belief systems, and having that aha that whatever was in my greatest good was in the greatest good of my former partner and my son. My son is thriving, grade 11, and he's one of my greatest teachers too. He's an old soul, right? So it's choosing, again, the pain, right? Sick and tired of
Right.
being sick and tired. I couldn't do that anymore, and I knew fully that it was going to be in the highest good of everyone involved, if it's in my highest good, right? It's not a selfish thing, but I was programmed. It was in my belief system. I looked at my parents and best friend for 50, almost 60 years, and married for 58, and that wasn't what I had, and that's okay. I honor her fully. I'm so grateful for that journey. I'm grateful for my son,
Yeah.
um, we take ourselves with us, again, no matter where we go. So take accountability. And you said about, believing is seen, but it's hard for people to do in the unseen. My go-to is this: faith and fear both ask you to believe in something you don't see. So why not choose to have faith in, when we were kids, it was like, imagine when, imagine if, what's possible?
This is
And
it.
now we go, but what if, right? No. This or something better. I always say, universe, you have a better plan than I do, but this is what I'm feeling. Aligned action, inspired action, intentional action, right?
Mm-hmm. I talked to you forever. I mean, it's just so good. There was things I wanted to jump in around being yourself, be authentic. I would always laugh, like when someone said, just be your authentic self. And when I first started, I was like, well, who the hell is she? Because
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
this for work and this for my parents and this for my friends and this for this group that I'm still trying to people please and through it. And so I think that like we believe we know ourselves, but how much time do we actually spend? And I can tell you've spent a lot. This is where you know yourself, is asking those deep questions for ourselves and being okay with what comes up. Because I think for a lot of us Gen Xers, you nailed so many different things of beliefs that we've had, the working harder, making sure that if we made a decision and it was against somebody, that it came from a place of humility, not being ego, right? Because there's almost like if I want to do what I want, then I'm selfish. And all
Right.
these things that have like kind of stuck us back, where when we were a kid, we just did. We just listened to our intuition, right?
Any human that's having a growth trajectory in their life right now hit a point where they realized they were meant to put themselves first. Not in a selfish way, not in an ego way, but in an empowering way. What does my soul need? What would fuel me? What would fuel what I'm here to do? Right? What's in my greatest good? And it will be in the greatest good. Your friends that love you and that are there for you, and there's an equal exchange of energy, they're going to respect your new boundaries. And guess what? The ones who don't, the universe will show you them pretty quickly.
Yeah. And there'll be
And
people for them that can match them at that frequency,
absolutely. And zero
right?
judgment. That's where they
No
are in
judgment.
the paradigm. That's where they are in their fear, the way they operate, their beliefs. But, they would say things to me. Just a few months ago, I had a meeting with a friend, and um, basically what he was saying was trying to put the fear in what I'm doing, but really he was uncomfortable. It wasn't about what I'm doing, stepping into. It was about him thinking about if he tried to do that.
Right.
And I'm like, look, I'm not betting on anything outside of me. I'm betting on me. That's 100% bet. Right? And so I definitely didn't start here. I definitely have my days where I still have the self-talk, but it just doesn't take me down anymore. You can rock my foundation, but you will not move me.
This
Nothing.
is so good. We
And
shorten the refractory period.
exactly. And the stimulus and response, right? Do we react or respond? And the more self-awareness we develop, we can slow that time in between the stimulus and if we react or respond,
Oh my gosh.
which all
So
great leaders learn to do.
this is it, right? Because we realize that when we're reacting, we're letting an old program take over and we stop thinking.
Yes.
And I think so many of us are like, well, I'm thinking, no, you're actually not. You're regurgitating the past and you're wanting new things for the future. And again, I say this with like bluntness only because it is,
Yeah.
not from a place of like not being empathetic towards it, because we all been there. But to your point, if you don't feel uncomfortable when somebody's asking you these questions, then we're just saying what's in alignment with what you already believe, which is only going to get you more of the same. Those around people just asking different perceptions, sharing. Doesn't mean you have to agree with it. You choose
No.
what's right for you. Choose your
Oh,
heart, right?
use discernment, but I mentioned earlier about telling leaders, I'm not here to tell you what you want to hear. I'm here to tell you what you need to hear.
Yeah.
I want the same. And my circle, trust me, I get told things I need to hear, right? And I'm so grateful that I have that. I do it for my group and my circle of people
Yeah.
in my life, and they do it for me, right? They will call me. If I need to be called out on something, please, like, call me on it. I want that,
That's
right?
right. It's feedback, only feedback.
That's it.
Michael, usually I end with these 5 endless questions, but one of the questions I want to be right now is share with me the pillars.
Sure. So, concisely in a nutshell, the 5 pillars flowed through me in 2016. Halfway through writing the first book, I changed the whole order of my book, and I realized that the 5 pillars were the main chapters. My editor at the time was pulling her hair out, but then finally seen it, she got excited. But the 5 pillars, the first one is about getting clear, core desires, setting intention, right? So all comes back to clarity, right?
Got to have the
Um,
vision.
yeah, it's vision and why you want to do it. And sometimes those initial goals are smaller. They could be nutrition based, they could be fitness based, they could be financial. Whatever they are, that's fine. Any step in the right direction will help you grow and learn, and you'll start to feel motivated. So the first one, get clear, core desire, setting intention. And that'll help you start to get closer to the why. The second is removing obstacles. Again, every adversity yields an equal or greater opportunity. It's not just a play on words. So the first 2 pillars are the inner work. People talk about growth, self-investment. You touched on this earlier, but growth takes effort. I don't like the word work. I try to not say it as often, but it takes focus, discipline, and effort, right? So growth is uncomfortable. I started with a new trainer 2 weeks ago. I'm sore everywhere, right? But I love it. Just like I love being in the -14 temperature this morning and sitting in my ice plunge at 7:30, right? So
This is it.
what are we doing that helps us grow? How do we move beyond the obstacle? Then there's mindset. The third pillar is developing a positive mindset. Pillar 4 is all about building a solid foundation. And it's not just circle of influence, but who's the biggest circle of influence in our journey? It's ourself, right? We are the CEO of YOU is the word they term it. You see that a lot, right?
Right.
So when I do the circle of influence stuff, I'll always have a slide on how you're leading yourself, which is a bit different and a lot. I'm sure some do that as well because we are in our circle, right? We have more conversations with ourselves than we do anyone really when we really think about it.
Hire and fire accordingly. Your
Yes,
own
exactly.
self, right? The old versions.
And then pillar 5, the final pillar, is all about taking effective action. So I love to geek out with productivity and how do you time block? How do you prioritize? Set goals, context switching, all the things that we can learn to do. And I took maybe 3 or 4 different courses on these topics, and I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure it's probably similar. You never take a course and go, oh, that's exactly what I need to do. No, you pull from it the nuggets of each course that works for you, come up with your own way. I'm never trying to get someone to do what I do. I'm trying to help someone find what their flow is for them. It's like the ice punch for me is a game changer, and I love it. And it's not easy in the morning sometimes. I'd rather do it in the evening, but I'm like, no, I commit it to early morning. I'll do it in the morning. I do my breath work and I go in. It's not negotiable. And I train my nervous system. Before I go in, there's 2 quick breaths and my body goes, okay, I'm ready. And I'm zen. I'm zen instant, once I go in, because I've trained myself to do that. I trained myself to leave my hands in the ice. I've trained myself to get out and not dry off and meditate for a few minutes first, but it was all incremental. So how do I create the things, or anyone create the things you want to do? It's by the micro will always create the macro. And I'll leave with this point from another Tony Robbins course, maybe a decade ago. We will tend to drastically overestimate what we can do in a short period of time. What we can do in a day, what we can do in a week. We'll make a to-do list, we'll put 10, 15 things on it, and we'll sit in the evening. And even if we did 14 of the 10, or 14 of the 15, we will think about that one thing we didn't do in the evening, instead of going, wow, we got so much done. The second thing is we underestimate what we can do in a long period of time. What we can do in 3 months, a year, 3 years, 5 years. So it's the micro that creates the macro. Clarity, focus, intention, discipline, consistency. That's how we create. It's not about being perfect. If I stick 80% to my workouts, I'm good. If I stick 80% to my morning routine, if I stick 80% to my nutrition, right? Now, I try to stay up around 90 to 95, and there's weeks when I'm almost hitting 100, but at the same time, there's weeks when I'm not. Right? So it's really about realize that you can do less is more. Less is really more. Smarter, not harder. I know it's overused, but it's really true. It's like smarter, not harder is doing less better and more focused.
So good. Honestly, I could just mic drop it. It's so great that I want to dive into so many of those parts, because it is around recognizing those mini wins and why it's so important every day to reflect on the little things, that there's no big or small. We know with the laws, but I think that we're all until I got everything, to your point, off that checklist, and then I didn't do it. And then you feel this little sense of not being enough. We've been trained to not be enough. I mean, I love the quote on faith and fear both require us to say the opposite. So why do we lean more into fear? Because the majority of us have been trained to come from a place of lack.
Yes.
We need to start recognizing that and start thinking. It was interesting. I was talking to a client earlier today, and we were talking about relationships, right? And I really feel in relationships why they're so powerful in who we become is because we know that when you're visualizing things, you want to have the vision, the intention with an elevated emotion. And the more that we can attach those, the more it will seep into our subconscious. And I believe a lot of these things, when it comes to relationship, have that elevated emotion. So it sticks harder with us when it's over, right? And so he said, well, do you think that you can get all of the things that you want in person and be the person. And I said, like, kind of back to you, I was like, I believe everything I desire desires me. I believe all I'm seeking is seeking me.
Yeah.
So it's only a matter of me not having faith that I can't and I'm not worthy of all those things that stopped me from not finding it. Like, become aware of what we're saying and what we're thinking, because that lack, because it basically is saying, well, I'm afraid to think that because I don't want to be disappointed.
Right.
Well, the time will pass, you'll be disappointed anyway. So wouldn't you rather believe more in what we want than what we don't want?
It is a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
We don't realize it. So I have people that say you can't have it all. I'm like, who told you that?
Right.
Who told you that? Well, you can't. You can't have it all. You can't do this and have that too. Or you can't have money but have a balanced life. Or you can't have money but have a good relationship. I'm like, who told you that? Like,
Right.
you don't need to believe those things. Whatever we look for in life, we will find. There's enough contrast for us to see. I'm not saying that everything's rainbows and unicorns and kumbaya. That's not what I'm saying. But I will tell you that I embrace the storm because I will come out the other side stronger than when I went in. Now, when I'm in it, it's not fun. Last week I was in it, and I'm the first to admit it. And I was almost excited because I feel like I haven't been in a storm like that in a few years, maybe. So I'm like,
Something's good's
okay,
coming.
there's growth, there's expansion.
This is
I'm
it.
letting go another level of the old belief system.
This is it. And it's a journey. When you're full of potential and there's like limitless, you will always be on a journey of exploring more.
There is no arrival, and I know it's cliche. It is the journey. And who we become. Who do we have to become to do the things we want to do, and who we become in addressing these goals and working towards these goals.
I've enjoyed this conversation so much. Michael, if people want more of Michael in their lives, share with us, one, how they can connect with you, what's going on, what's new, what's upcoming.
Yeah, for sure. So you can check me out online at doyleitin.com. So my last name Doyle, DoyleItin.com. And all my contact is on there, my email, there's a contact form, some information on my consulting, books, all that fun stuff. Reach out, my social media handles are on there too. And I love connecting with like-minded people. I love having deep conversations. And I always have room to learn more. So if you're coming in as a student, great. If you're coming in as a teacher, I'm ready. So thank you.
It's a shout. If anything resonated with you today that you want to reach out, please do so. I think so many of us have that intuitive nudge and then we pause. And the moment you pause, all the reasons why you shouldn't come into play. We logic our way out of creating more. Michael's a prime example how he didn't let his current results determine where he could go. He had a strong vision. He followed it through with belief, understanding, awareness, did the work, do the work works,
Yes.
and took the action. Again, if you find yourself in a position where you're wanting more, do reach out, get exposed. Yes, it requires a level of vulnerability. Yes, it requires a level of letting go, as Michael, you articulated so well. But without it, I mean, to your point, don't go to bed or to sleep or to die with regrets. Follow Michael's lead and make sure every music in you plays so that your song is carried out throughout your life. Thank you, Michael, for getting exposed with me today.
Thank you. I really appreciate you and all the listeners, and sending love and light to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Till next time, stay exposed, be bold, be brave, and believe you can. Cheers.
That's it for today's episode of Xposed Living, Be Ageless. But this is just the beginning. If this episode made you feel something, share it. Tag me. Send it to a friend. Let's start the conversation we can be having all along. No shame, no guilt. Unfiltered, raw, real, exposed. And if you're ready to go deeper, join us inside the Xposed Living Facebook community, where we take this work off the podcast and into real life. Know this, your change starts when your excuses die. Because this life, this one wild, ageless, unforgettable life is waiting on you. This is your time. This is your truth. This is Xposed Living.